All right, everybody. Episode 17. We got Captain Dusty Lambert, also a doctor. I don't know if you normally go by doctor on your, day to day. What's funny is my brother-in-law asked me, he's like, who you got coming on? And I'm like, I got this guy from Fairmont. And he's like, oh, okay. And he's like, well, what's he do up there? And I'm like, he's captain. I said, he also, is a doctor. And he's like, oh, he's a medical doctor. I said, well, he's got a doctorate. He goes, all right, so we should still call 911. You're fine. Yep, everything's good. Yeah, go ahead. All right, everybody. Well, we lost Dusty, so we'll give him a second to get back in here. We'll let the chat go ahead and fill up.
All right.
There we go.
I'm back. No idea. That was a weird error. If it pops up again, I'll just ignore it. But it was right over the middle of the screen. So.
That is weird.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I'll look and it's like in the middle of the screen, and I'm like, I don't want to click anything.
Yeah, that's exactly what it does.
Before, and I clicked it, and everybody's hardcore in a conversation, and it's just like gone.
Yeah, but I couldn't click off of it. It was still working though. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Here we are.
Weird. All right. Okay, so obviously whatever the fact that that you sometimes go by doctor, even though your wife doesn't want to.
Right.
Don't want to say it, right? Okay. So you want to give a quick, brief, bio about yourself, and we'll go over your career a little bit.
Sure. Dusty Lambert. Work for the city of Fairmont, where I currently serve as a shift captain, on B shift, where I've been captain for almost a year now. I've been on B shift my whole career, though. September was my 20th year at Fairmont, and before that, spent a few years as a volunteer in my hometown of Jane Lou, West Virginia. So educational, you said doctor. I'm not a medical doctor. I got my PhD in emergency management in 2021, December. That's when I graduated. My education before that was in occupational safety management from Fairmont State and WVU. So a little bit of crossover there. So there's my resume.
That's safety, man. That's a whole other career of itself, right? You can get into some pretty big money positions doing that.
Yeah, there's a lot of demand for people with those degrees. Everybody that I graduated with in both of those programs had pretty good jobs waiting on them, but I was working all the way through college and really enjoyed my job. So, someday maybe I'll grow up and get a real job. I don't know.
Okay. So we'll start out like I normally do. All right. So when did you get into the fire service?
So I like I said, I was born and raised in Jane Lou, the bustling metropolis of Jane Lou, northern Lewis County. For anyone not familiar, right along High 79. As a little kid, my grandma lived right behind the fire's house in Jane Lou, and when the fire whistle would go off, her or my parents would throw me on their shoulder and we'd run down and watch the fire trucks leave. I can remember that.
I
guess I didn't know the name at the time, but definitely like the flashy lights, and it was exciting. So then fast forward when I was 16, a little after I was 16, Jane Lou Volunteer Fire Department restarted their junior firefighter program, which sort of went to the wayside in the 90s, I guess, due to insurance at a lot of places, not just there. And since they were restarting that program, I heard about it and signed up right after I was probably 16 and a half, and took firefighter 1, my basic requirements that year, and became a junior firefighter for a couple of years while I was in high school. Got a lot of classes knocked out, had some great instructors. My former fire chief, Eddie, was a great instructor, a lot of charisma. So I've sort of carried that on throughout my career from him. And I started Fairmont State when I was 18, straight out of high school. And my freshman year, towards the end of it, realized that Fairmont had a paid department. I was like, hadn't thought about this. I was actually in a criminal justice major then, and thought maybe I'd want to be a cop, I guess. I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So
I don't know if you were a cop, I'd have been over to bring you on.
Right, exactly.
No. It's funny because people think all the firefighters that are bringing on here. I actually had a guy one time for my first episode that I've ever did. It was a cop, right? And then I've never had one since. And he's like, maybe we'll bring any more cops in there. I'm like, dude. I said, none of you guys ever want to come on here. I said, I have no problem bringing firefighters on here. He goes, you know why? He's like, why? I said, because we don't shut up.
That's
right?
fair.
I said, we love telling stories. We love telling everybody about, how we saved 2 cats out of a tree. Right?
Yeah, the time they beat the firemen to the call. And
yeah.
So, moved to Fairmont, started college. At the end of my freshman year, realized that Fairmont had a full-time career department. And I was like, hadn't really considered that you could actually get paid for this stuff. So took the test, scored well. I believe I was number 1 on the list. And then going into my sophomore year of college is whenever I got the phone call and a letter with a job offer. So it was fall of 2003 is whenever I started at Fairmont. Was fortunate enough to start back when we still had a 100-year-old fire station with a pole in it, and ton of history there. And so continued working full time and going to school full time. Dropped back to part time, but after a couple years of criminal justice, discovered the safety program and realized there was a lot of overlap with that and my job. So switched majors to occupational safety and health, and loved it. Ended up loving that major, all the aspects of it. Really passionate about it, just mainly because of the overlap into my job. But that's where I've been ever since then. So that's how I got my start in the fire service.
Right. That's it's weird, right? Like a lot of people aren't, I guess. Like you really don't realize like how much you're gonna love it, right? Until you really get into it, and then it's like so hard to explain to people, right? So like I'm just volunteer, but like I talk to guys at work sometimes, and they're like, "How much money you make?" What are you talking about? Because I told him I was, actually gonna start taking my officer classes this weekend, and he was like, "Yeah, he's like, do they pay for that?" I said, "No." He's like, "What do you mean they don't pay for that?" I said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Like they don't pay me for that. He's
volunteer.
Just like, what are you doing it for? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I was like, sounds like a good idea at the time, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's like crazy that people don't understand that guys do it for free, right? Some guys that are doing it for paid definitely aren't getting paid what you should to do the job.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy. Well, so you started out in Jane Lou, and the 16-year-old firefighter. So your grandparents were involved. So first generation fire. Well, they weren't involved. Sorry, but like
right.
They were
they were just something exciting to show their kid, probably. So, but not realizing it had a pretty big impact on me. So it definitely piqued my interest.
I'm not familiar with Jane Lou, right? But like I've heard of it. Pretty, I would imagine, small town, right?
Yeah, 500
probably
people.
Not a lot
town.
Going on.
Yeah.
Someone's house is rolling. It's probably about as much excitement as the county fair coming in.
Right. And that's one of the things, a small town like that. I mean, they cover like 15 miles of interstate. So they do have a lot of bad crashes and rescues along the interstate. But one thing that being in a small town fire department running 350 calls a year, you're going to have calls to people and there's less of that as you go to a bigger city, bigger town. But one of the very first fires that I went on was a boy that I went to high school with. His house caught on fire. I had been to his house before, and it was an actual working fire. And so, that's sort of the downside of it, is you get to be there on the worst day of some of your friends or families, or at least acquaintances' lives. So good or bad, but nonetheless, it's a lot more personal for sure on that level.
So you stole my next question, which was going to be, do you remember the first fire that you went on? So obviously you do remember it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the first fire. Well, I think that was actually the second fire. First one was just a small, I think, Christmas tree. It wasn't much of anything, but that was the first actual working house fire. And then my very first day at Fairmont, I had been there about 3 hours and was still just on day shift, sort of an orientation period. And very first call of the day was a working house fire
That's
on East
awesome.
Side. So yeah, I got the nickname Black Cloud for a little while at Fairmont.
So
but,
already having your fire one and stuff like that, when you transitioned over to Fairmont, obviously you were still, in like a training period, but were you able to pack up?
Yeah, I was. So yeah, you're right. I was legal,
Yeah.
bet the bare minimum to ride the truck. So yeah, I was able to do the job. But I'd started my apprenticeship. We have a 3-year apprenticeship. So above and beyond that, you can continue a lot more training on top of that. But yeah, I was ready to go day one, good or bad, ready or not.
Yeah, that was probably a humongous, and I was going to say that's probably a humongous transition going from 350 calls probably on a good year, and then going to Fairmont and doing, is there even a fire alarm in Jane Lou? Like, do you guys
Yeah,
run
there's a
commercial fire
nursing
alarms?
home and a school.
Oh,
So
Okay,
yeah,
but like,
yeah.
and then you guys are running fire alarms on the daily in
Right.
Fairmont there, right? So
Right.
that was a huge difference.
Yeah.
But there's also things that they do in Jane Lou that you guys probably really don't run as much in Fairmont, right? Brush fires,
Yep.
like doing brush fires. I mean, to be honest, I, and it's the same thing as like the city of Morgantown, right? There's not really that many big working house fires, right? You get a Jane Lou gets a working house fire. It's a pretty good fire.
Mhm.
You guys get one in Fairmont. You probably got one or two rooms going before you guys really get there and get a knock on it.
All comes down to how long it takes somebody to see it. I've learned.
That's true, right? Because I've seen some fires in the middle of the day that get more out of hand than ones that get caught at 3 o'clock in the morning. How did nobody not see this house? Like, you have people that are throwing trash out their window, and the person behind is calling the cops.
Yeah.
But this 2-story apartment building has been rolling for 15 minutes.
Yep.
Everybody's like, oh, somebody called.
Yeah, it goes from one extreme to the other. You're right. And it's funny because, sometimes it'll be like, what took you guys so long after the fact? And, you pull up the CAD, the dispatch info, and it's like, well, from the time we were there in like less than 3 minutes. So, but it all came down to somebody not calling, or maybe worse yet, assuming that somebody else called, which, happens from time to time. So,
which is like insane, right? Because I'm one of those people where I always, like, I have, a bunch of people that are in my family that, that are in dispatch. And, they tell me all the time, like, man, we got 45 calls of the same one. So in my head, I'm instantly like, I'm not going to call.
right.
Because I'm not going to be that 42nd person that called in the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So I would be that person that'd be like, oh, yeah, somebody probably called that in.
Yeah, there's the name for that phenomenon, though, where everybody assumes that somebody else called. I think it was in the 80s, maybe, that there was like a public beating of lady that there was dozens of witnesses.
Are you talking about the one where it was at like an apartment complex?
Yeah.
And the woman was like beaten and raped outside.
Yeah,
And there's
in broad
like
daylight. And
35 people that were looking outside and nobody called
because everybody assumed something so egregious.
Yeah,
they'd be like, oh yeah, they ought to be here any minute.
Yeah,
there's a movie?
It's insane. Yeah, there's a whole movie based
Wow, I didn't know
behind
that.
it and everything.
I'll have to look that up.
It's called like 37 like cameras or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it does a whole backstory where the guy actually, like, it was his sister, right? And so he does a whole documentary on how nobody called the cops and nobody like recognized the guy's face or anything, and they never caught the guy.
Huh. Yeah, I didn't know there was a
And, like,
documentary movie. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. So, but so what was the? I know this was a long time ago. What was the firehouse? Like atmosphere, right? At Jane Lou, you're a 16-year-old kid. I started out. Luckily, my wife was already involved in the fire department that I'm in, so it wasn't like I went in there and they're like, "Who the hell is this kid?" Right? You were a young 16-year-old kid that joined, and they're like, "Who the hell are you?"
Right. And I was the first round of new junior firefighters, so they, there was a little bit of a learning curve there. So they weren't real sure exactly what to do with us, what we were allowed to do, what we weren't allowed to do. So we had to go through some growing pains of, that pretty much. What color helmets are we going
in your favor, right? Because you could have
Yeah.
went on something and they're like, "Holy shit, I can't believe we let him do that."
Yeah, I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
That did happen a few times, but so yeah, there was that. There was probably 4 of us total, 3 or 4 that started as juniors. So, and I knew those guys. I went to high school with them. They're a year older, a year behind me, right around the same ages. And so, we had a group of us that took all of our Fire 1, Fire 2, our hazmat classes together. So, we had a nice little clique. So that helped. And but there was a lot of members. It was a very active department then, and which has declined. There's still a lot of familiar faces if I stop by and visit, but yeah, just like anywhere else, less and less participation, unfortunately.
And that's killing. I'm sure you guys feel in Fairmont too, right?
Oh yeah, there was
even as a paid department, you guys are probably hurting.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that from the volunteer side, but it's across the board, just public service in general. There was probably 50 some, close to 60 people that showed up for my written test whenever I tested 21 years ago. And now we get 20 applicants and you might have 15 show up, and then you'll have 8 pass that actually, make it onto the final, pass the physical agility and the written. So yeah, which is never good. You want the biggest candidate pool that you can have. So that's been a struggle. Fortunately, we've been lucky in the past few years. Even though we've had a small list, we've had a good group of new hires that are really want to be there. They've got great attitudes, and so we've been pretty fortunate there. But still, it's a struggle to recruit.
No, it is. I mean, we feel it definitely on the volunteer side. Listen, I was reading the other day, most astronomical number I've ever heard. The FDNY receives between 60 and 70,000 applications a test, right? And when they hire, it's between like 4,500 and 5,000 people.
Yeah.
Like what?
Right, and that's why they're so competitive. They have so many requirements. You don't have to have, so the bare minimum, anybody can apply as long as you're in the right age range, but they give points for legacy. If your parents were a firefighter, they give points. You have to have so many college credits. You don't have to have an associate degree. It's just shy of however many hours that is, maybe 50 college credits, but you have to have that. So, they've increased their standards to sort of whittle away that candidate pool to help that.
But which is like insane.
It is. I can't imagine the logistics just of having that many people test.
Now, your guys' tests, like I don't. So if you compare your guys' test to other fire departments' tests, you guys actually have a little bit more of a difficult physical.
I've heard both things. I've heard some people say that ours was way easier that had tested other places, and I've heard people say that it was a lot harder. So really, I guess it depends on what you're. Yeah.
So you guys do or do not have the stair climber?
We don't have the stair mill.
Okay,
we have a stair section, and there's a mile run. So yeah, they're all quite similar, but so I've heard both things. And then when I started, and then I believe one test after mine, we still had a swim, and that was unique. Fairmont was known for that. It was just a lap. It wasn't even timed. I don't think it wasn't for speed. It was just to make sure that you were able to swim. So at the very end of the test, when you're exhausted from doing everything else, you had to jump in the pool and just swim up and back without touching the sides, and I guess without drowning. So
you guys run a dive team?
We do not. Nope.
Okay.
I guess so
they were just like, listen, if you fall in somebody's pool, we want to make sure that you're not gonna drown.
Now Fairmont has almost 8 miles, around 7 point some miles of rivers, navigable rivers in the city of limits. So that might have been the thing, but it was just one of those sort of old school things that had always been there, and they wanted, I guess. I'm sure at one time there was a ton of candidates, so they're like, "Oh, let's make it a little more difficult and throw a swim on there, maybe." So,
no, I'm not trying to throw shade at you guys as a county, but is there? I'm not familiar. Is there a dive team at all in Marion County?
There is Winfield District out by Prickett's Fort.
Winfield does. Okay, I was gonna say, who the hell you guys call it if somebody's in the river, right?
Yeah. So I know that's on our radar is to get some dive equipment, just because we have so much water. And there has been quite a few times where
there's probably a huge demand for that, right? I
mean, both from, you're not doing a rescue at that point, but just public service divers. There's a lot of police.
Recovery, right? Instead of having to have somebody come in
Yeah, there's a lot
and do it
of
for you.
demand for police. People commit a crime and
Mhm.
throw a gun in the river, go search for it, that type of thing. So
Yeah.
I believe Morgantown has or had a joint dive team with their police department.
Yeah, so
Could
they
be wrong about that.
do with both, and then Granville Fire has recently got into the dive, which I don't have a problem with it. It did kind of come out of left field a little bit, but I mean, they I think have 11 certified divers now. I think they try to certify everybody on their fire
Nice.
department,
Yeah.
and then they do have a mutual aid with like every department around, and also Morgantown. That if
Mhm.
there's assistance needed for a dive team or a boat, then they'll respond.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I am a just open water scuba diver. That's more of a vacation thing that I
mhm.
got a few years back. But I'm not sure if I'd want to get into the public service side. It's not fun. You can't see anything. So I don't know.
Right. Yeah,
It's
we have the Mon River down here, right? And it's just like,
yeah, you're getting all the mud from Fairmont, so it's even worse. I
yeah.
mean,
Well,
that'd
it's
be a different
crazy. We were
environment.
just talking about the other day at work, and is some of the fish that are in the Mon River, right? Like there's some catfish in there that'll swallow your leg.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I like the water about the clarity of like Dasani that you can see from like 50
yeah,
feet away.
yeah.
So you
Yeah,
could
you
see a
don't want to
shark if it
be
gets close.
diving down and you're like, hey, you get up and you're like, hey, man, why are you pulling on my leg? They're like, and I didn't touch your leg.
Yeah, right.
And you're like, ooh.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
creepy.
okay, so Fairmont's test is, I think when I was looking, when they posted it, I like to try to kind of be familiar with that a little bit and see how places stack up. Because
Yeah.
some places are a lot easier, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, that's subjective. Some people say it's easier, some's harder, but they're all pretty similar. You need to have good cardio capacity, and you need to have good
Mhm.
upper body strength. Um,
Mhm.
Historically, just biologically, that's where female struggle is with the dummy drag that I've seen, is with the upper body strength. So you got to really identify your weaknesses, I think, and work on those. And I think a lot of people will stroll in thinking like, oh, I can run a mile, and yeah, I can go up those, and maybe they could do each one of those individually. But when you're doing each of those stations back to back to back, and by the time
Yeah.
you get to the mile, you're just smoked, and it really makes you decide whether or not you want the job. So
Right,
it's not a
because
bad thing.
you guys have one of the sleds in there.
Yep, we got the
Okay,
sled,
yeah. So
dummy
that
drag.
sled, right? That kind of throws people off. They're like, "Oh, I'm gonna take this and I'm just gonna
Right.
hit it, and it's gonna go." And they
Yeah.
hit it, it doesn't move. And they're
Yeah,
like,
you
"Oh,
slam it, and it moves that far. It's like,
yeah."
oh.
They're like, "I'm in trouble."
Yeah, for sure. That's
Yeah, they're like, "Can I
that's a
phone a
wake up
friend?"
call for a lot of people.
Like, yeah. So you know, you got into Fairmont. It was pretty awesome from your first 3 hours there, right? And you got to work in house fire. So
Mhm.
that was kind of a change because the call volume is like quadruple.
Yeah,
Yeah,
almost.
you're getting Jane Lewis. So that was kind of probably a little bit of an eye opener.
It was, yeah, for sure. A lot busier department. I was an EMT whenever I started. I just finished my EMT class at Fairmont State. I decided to take that thinking maybe it would help my odds. Um, Not that I really had any experience, but, like anywhere else, we run 65% medical calls. So I really got to hone my EMS skills. Yeah, a lot
Once
busier.
you do, you're like, I can do CPR.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I mean, I had the card. I didn't have
Yeah.
a lot of, real world experience. And over the course of my career, I worked part-time EMS at Marion County for 6-7 years. And
so you don't have Ben Casey then, right?
yeah, we know. I've heard of him. Yeah, actually, that's who kind of got me into that. He started at Fairmont as my apprentice.
Right. Yeah. So when I had him on, he talked about you and stuff, and
Yeah.
he's like, "You're gonna have to bring Dusty on." And I'm like, "All right."
Yeah, so he was my apprentice, and guy from Elkins. We sort of had a lot of similarities because he was a volunteer back home in Randolph County. Dad worked at Buchanan, but so he came in and went to college and for safety, similar to me. We both raced motocross when we were younger, so we ended up becoming really, really good friends right off the bat. And he was my apprentice for a couple years that he worked there, and so yeah, he started at Marion County Rescue Squad soon after, or maybe he even worked there when he started. But so I was like, so what is this? I've had my EMT for a few years now, but never really considered going and working on the ambulance. And
Yeah.
so he kind of persuaded me, I guess, or just made me a little more comfortable. It's like, if he can do it, I can do it. So we, yeah. So
You're like, I can tie my shoes, and I only ever see him wearing slip-ons.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
he's got the
like,
Velcro
I might be able to
straps.
swing this.
Exactly.
He's got the mandals on.
Yeah, if he can do it, anybody can. So no, I worked there for a few years. Of course, he went on and got his medic. But I mean, a lot of the skills, my EMT skills, really, I've got to put to use at the fire department more so than working on the ambulance. Of course, they have a lot of medics, so that sort of slows you down a little bit. But
listen, when I took mine, it kind of opened up my eyes, right? I mean, before I took mine, I went on, hundreds of car wrecks, and and I was like, all right, obviously I knew about, you know, keeping head control, trying to stabilize them best as possible. But then when I took my AT, I'm like, holy shit, we could have killed these people.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Like, you don't really realize, you're like, holy crap, all this time that we've just been doing this.
yeah. I
And
had
then
a
now
similar.
after that, we go with Rex, and I see people like, don't do that.
Yeah,
Like, they be getting out of like somebody holding head control, and they're like looking at me. I'm like, somebody holding head control.
yeah,
They're pulling him out of the car, his head flopping around like this, and I'm like,
you remember things like that when you do it wrong and then learn the right way. That definitely makes it stick with you. I was a lifeguard through high school before I started the fire service, so I had a little bit of basic first aid, and I knew the water side, I guess. So a week-long class. But I can remember the first time at the fire department at Jane Lou when I was 16, we were going to do a little drill of like having a car crash and getting somebody out, just transferring them on the backboard. So they told me to hold C-spine, and I held C-spine, not like this, like you would from behind, but I walked up to them like a lifeguard would for somebody in the water, and like put one hand here and one on the back of their head. And they're like, what are you doing? I mean, it wasn't a real patient, but I was like,
that's
the only way I ever learned how to do it was in the water. You sandwich their head and neck and the body.
yeah.
And so, yeah, I had some moments like that.
Yeah, the first time you got there, do that on the ambulance. They're like, he's killing him. What is he doing?
So that, and I was, I think, like a lot of firefighters, a little averse to the EMS side. But
you're
looking back
to it too, right? Like,
well, looking back, I think that's why. I think that it scares us, and I'm not too proud to say that it's like, oh, I could kill someone, or I could really, if I do something wrong. And I think that makes a lot of people coming from the fire side uncomfortable. And so they don't say I'm uncomfortable, or, I don't like it for that reason. They say, EMS is stupid. We don't need to learn how to do that. I just want to spray water. But
so I used to, before that, like, we would have, EMS show up, and we're educating a person, and they're like, hey, maybe you guys should do it like this. And we're like, fuck off. Right?
Yeah.
Like, we've been doing the training. We know how to get this person out. You brought the ambulance. You put them on the ambulance. But like, then when you look at it, like after that, I looked at it and I'm like, wow. I'm like, it's not about how just getting the person out.
Right.
It's like mitigating the risk in the injury that you can do to them, right? But before you really know, you're like, I'm about to pop this door. But then you're not thinking about what's on the other side of the door.
Right. The whole purpose of doing a rescue or putting out a fire or any of the other calls is because of the people, the humans that are there, that are involved in it. So, what's the difference between a rescue and treating them? I mean, the rescue is a form of treatment, really. They're going to die otherwise. So it's not like you can just pull somebody out of a burning building and throw them in the front lawn and your job here is done. Go back to the station,
Right.
The whole purpose of putting out the fire or getting them out of the car is so that they live. And if you can't continue to provide some sort of care, then you're probably in the wrong profession.
Right. Yeah. I used to always say, any dummy can get a dead person out of the car, right?
Right.
Like, I mean, they're dead. What else
you
are you
just
going
gonna
to do?
cut
But
up.
like, when you have somebody that's severely injured,
Right.
any slight motion you make could be the difference between them being dead and alive.
Yeah. You can't know automotive rescue in and out without knowing the human side of it, for sure.
No, for sure.
Sorry, getting some strange noises there.
Me too.
Swap the batteries.
Ben, you're already talking trash. I was gonna tell him that you said it once he quit talking. You're complimenting him, and then he just whatever happened.
Check 1, 2. There we go.
Yep. Dude,
Yep, that was me.
it took Ben about 5 seconds to start trash talking you. He literally said right before that, uh, he said great lighting and audio. And then he said, I take that back.
Yeah, that's fair. I haven't changed the batteries in that thing, and I've done a couple podcasts, and actually it's his fault. He came up and I was giving him some pointers on setting up some stuff for his podcast for Master Your Medic, so I blame him.
Oh, is he
Sucking
going to
my
start a
batteries.
podcast?
Yeah, that's something that's in the works, I believe. Some sort of live.
Awesome, man.
For the I probably let the cat out of the bag there. Sorry, Ben.
But like, I love it, man, because when I first started this, I kind of looked for some ideas and kind of some inspiration. And there was like zero first responders podcasts, and then I kind of started mine. And then I was thinking, I was like, man, is somebody gonna come hopefully I inspired somebody to kind of get in on it. I mean, it's a really weird thing, and I actually have trouble getting guests.
Yeah.
Because people are like, I don't want to get on there and talk in front of a bunch of random people. I'm like, there's probably 5 people watching. Get over it.
I could see that. Yeah. Public speaking is a very common fear, so I can't say that I really blame them, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so where are we at? So we'll just kind of get back to your career a little bit. So you were at Fairmont for how long before you really kind of wanted to get into an officer position?
Well, by code, you have to have 2 years in grade before you can test for the next one. That's in state code, so that's any career department in West Virginia. And for us, that is, you have to complete your 3-year apprenticeship program and all the courses involved in that. And then I think the first test was, so that means 5 years, pretty much. You got to work there 5 years before you can test. And my first test was probably right around the 6 or 7 year mark. Now again, by state code, you have to give points for seniority. So, at 5, 6, 7 years, you don't have enough seniority. You could completely ace the test and you're not going to be in the top few. Yeah. So I tested, scored well, but didn't get promoted to lieutenant until I had 16 or 17 years on, which is about the norm. Unfortunately, you really got to put your time in, which is fine. I mean, during that time, you're going to develop a lot more respect. And I think people are going to, you have to start acting like a leader before you become a leader. A lot of people don't realize that. It's not like you just take the test and get the badge and the bugle, and now all of a sudden people are going to respect you. And now all of a sudden you can start acting like an officer. So you really got to act like an officer beforehand. So I had plenty of opportunity to do that, I guess. I try to look at the bright side.
Yeah, I mean, because like guys are literally looking at me like, fuck you even doing taking that test? Officer, right?
Yeah.
Like, and they'll tell you right from the start, and I feel like guys can tell who are really going to move up and be leaders way before they even know it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just the way that guys can kind of lead and kind of be like a senior man before they kind of even are, right? Without like stepping on toes.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have some guys that'll go their whole entire career and never want that responsibility and only want to, just show up.
Yeah, which is fair. I mean, and honestly, I commend those who know that. I mean, if they don't feel comfortable being in that position, then and aren't trying to, then I commend that, because some people, and on the career side, of course, you have the motivator of getting a raise if you get promoted, so that can be good or bad.
You guys are getting paid.
Yeah, right. So that can be good or bad. I mean, if that's motivating you, you probably aren't going to make a great officer if that's really your sole motivation. If you're not motivated to make a difference and go from serving your community to serving your firefighters that are working under your command, then you're probably not doing it for the right reasons. So, yeah,
that's kind of a good thing, right? Especially on the paid side, because on the volunteer side, sometimes that is the total opposite, right? Like I talk about how you get some guys that get just absolutely beat up on all the time because they're really shitty officers, and sometimes they are shitty officers. It's just the way it is. But then other times I explain to people like you have some of these people that were almost forced into that position, right? Like they were the only one that was there that kind of was able to piece, the pieces together.
Yeah.
And then they were kind of forced into that position. Like, hey, we got about 5 people in the department, and about 4 of those spots requires an officer. And
Yeah, we've had that happen too. I mean, I mentioned the state code of having 2 years in grade before you can promote. So we have 2 lieutenants per shift. So we have 6 lieutenants in the department, and then you make your way up to captain. So we have 3 captains in charge of each of the 3 shifts, and then 1 in charge of our training division and inspection. So that means that at best, and our chief is civil service. So, some cities may not have a civil service chief, but ours is. So that means at best case scenario, we have 4 candidates eligible to test for chief. Worst case, you might not have any because they might not have 2 years in grade, which we had happened one time a few years back. Fortunately, one of the captains kind of paused his retirement when he was going to retire and stuck around to do a few years as chief until somebody became eligible.
Yeah,
so
they're just like, who the hell's going to be chief, right? Like,
Yeah.
they're literally like, nobody can do it.
And without breaking the law, it's sort of
Yeah.
a weird process because it does give one exemption. You can appoint an interim or a temporary chief for I think 90 days, and then after that they can't do it again. They can't do it again. So you'd have to rotate through people from every 3 months until you get somebody with 2 years in grade.
You got the janitor in there. You're like, hey, bud, you want to be chief for 3 months? Like,
that's So they didn't really think that through. I think when they wrote that code, the state code, and the civil service code hasn't been updated for like 50 years in the state. So it could need some tweaks. So yeah, if there's any politicians listening,
guys because you guys run 3 stations.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. How many guys do you guys normally have staff per shift?
So when I started, we had 4 stations. We had one in Bellevue, and you had 2 people in each of the 3 substations. Now we have 3 stations total. Those sort of merged, 2 of them. So we have 13 assigned per every shift. That's how many are assigned to it. And of course, at any given time, you have somebody on vacation or a personal day or is called off sick. And so our typical staffing is 11, and we can drop down to 10 occasionally due to sickness for that reason only. So that means 2 or 3 in substations and 6, 7, or 8 working in our central station, which is where our ladder company, rescue company, and an engine company are.
I think it might even have been your buddy Ben that advised me on this. Is like NFPA states that you need, which is like crazy to me. Is it 14 firefighters?
I think initial, that sounds right. For residential, that's not even for high rise or commercial.
Right, that's not even high rise. Yeah,
and that's on the initial dispatch.
Because I think that he told me that in Bridgeport they have, by the time you actually consider actual firefighters that can actually pack up and go interior, they're lucky to have like 9 or 10.
Yeah.
And which is like insane, right? And I know that budget-wise, it's not even possible to even have more guys. I mean, it's insane to make sure that you have 14 active guys to go inside.
Right. And that's what it comes down to is dollars and, what your community expects, the level of service your community expects and demands. And sadly, that's usually, changes to staffing or anything else are usually in response to something catastrophic that happened.
Absolutely.
The public and people, representatives, political side don't want to just randomly, arbitrarily increase budgets and staffing, even though the stats and best practices and standards all say otherwise. So yeah, sadly, unfortunately, it's just a reactionary type thing whenever that changes. But so we make do. That's sort of one of the cool things about being at a smaller career department. And I know that's all relative, small can mean a lot of different things, but we really are a smaller career department compared to a bigger city. But we get an opportunity to do a lot of different stuff. You're going to be on an engine company. You're going to get to be a driver operator. You're going to get on a ladder company. You're going to get to do boat stuff. Your confined space, technical rescues, and that all might be in the course of a month where you're doing all those different jobs versus, bigger cities. You're going to go get assigned to an engine company. You might work your way into a ladder, and you could stay on that single company for your entire career if you wanted to. And not that that's a bad thing. You get to really master your position in a big department. But we sort of have to be jacks of all trades, and know each one of those things in and out to be proficient. So, which is cool. It's a lot of opportunities that I might not otherwise get at a bigger department or a smaller department. So it's a sweet spot right there.
It is. It's kind of crazy, right? Like you have some of these big departments, and and I listen to all kind of podcasts, and right, so the Getting Salty podcast, I listen to that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you have these guys talk about, and they say it all the time, is none of them are extraordinary firefighters. They just bring 90 people up to one structure fire, right?
Yeah.
Like you'd send all those guys out there, they could all just about jump on the fire and put it out.
Yeah, stomp it out, right?
Yeah, right. So
Yeah.
what's insane is, you go from having literally 40 people in a structure fire to then you start to dwindle down to smaller, medium departments that they may have 20.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get you guys when you guys are all without completely draining the city's resources. You guys maybe have like 9 people probably without you gotta leave.
Right,
leave somebody available.
Well, yeah, for a working fire, we roll everybody, and then we'll call in usually 4 people off duty, which, they'll, by the time they get 3 or 4 people, it's 15, 20, 30 minutes.
Somebody's called, somebody 15 times.
Yeah, but it's usually they're just to backfill an engine to cover all the other calls, but they'll also usually come out to the scene and relieve the first folks in that
cool.
might be exhausted. So yeah, and you're right. By the time if we're working with 11, our typical run up, and you take out your officer and your pump operator, so now you have 9 firefighters to do the job of many more. So it's a blessing because you're going to get a lot of experience, a lot of fire nozzle time, but it's also exhausting. We're expected to do the work of, it blows people's minds from bigger departments that will come out, swap out for another air cylinder, chug a half bottle of water, and go back in and get back to work. I'm like, wow, we're done after one. So there's a lot of demand for that, for sure.
Sorry. Mitch Tasey literally just commenting, wanting to know why your nose is shining.
Yeah. I forgot my makeup. I left it at his house.
Yeah. But yeah, it's insane, right? I've been on some volunteer structure fires, and if we could get 5 guys all right,
yeah,
it's insane. Like sometimes we've been the first department on scene of a working structure fire. One time we were actually the first department on scene of a working trailer fire with the track, and there was 2 of us.
Yeah.
And somebody's got to pump the truck. Luckily, we were. Like you said earlier, there's a lot of firefighters or EMTs are also firefighters. We actually had a guy that was very experienced. It was actually able to pump the truck, which was like a blessing because we were actually able to make a pretty good push on that.
Right, pawn it off over to him.
Yeah. We literally showed up, and he was like, "Hey, what can we do to help?" And at the time, he's our assistant chief now, but the lieutenant, he's like, "Pump the truck," and he's like, "Yeah, I'll pump the truck." Hey, he's just excited not to have to do EMS stuff, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, you know that if you would ever work part time and you guys wanted to work in fire, you're like, man, am I actually working EMS? I think I actually need to be in the fire.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people I think go into EMS with hopes of eventually getting in with a career department, which is a good route. You get a little bit of experience with at least just emergency services as a whole, and a little taste of it, and you get to work with them. So that's for sure.
Ooh, Ben just said that you just got done cleaning the brown off. He said your new chief stopped too quick.
See, Ben? He forgets that everybody can see these comments.
Yeah. Yeah. You're gonna be going. Yeah, Ben's gonna be getting pulled in there, and they're like,
He's
yeah,
new. He's new to this whole technology thing and social media, so
yeah.
he'll catch on.
He's older, right?
Oh yeah, very. Yeah,
Okay, that's what I thought. I was
he's
gonna say
way
when he
older than
came on,
me.
he wore glasses, and he also kept like staring at the screen like this.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
so,
Call you a whippersnapper.
so you guys actually Fairmont's got a new station, right?
We did. Yep, East Side Station got replaced
After
about a year
100
ago. It was almost 100 years. I think it was. I think the last East Side Station opened in 1923, so
Wow.
it's its 100th anniversary. Yeah. So and new station is state of the art. I mean, I was on the committee for that. The chief
So
pretty
if
much.
anything's wrong with it, you're to blame.
Yeah, or the architect. We blame him, even though the little bugs and glitches really I think came back to the builder maybe, but we all just point fingers at each other like that Spider-Man meme where they're all pointing at each other.
Yeah,
So,
on the, yeah.
But we got almost everything we asked for in that station, so it really is state of the art. Everybody has their own bunk room. It's got an excellent sound system and station alerting system. The nice soft red light that comes on in the bedrooms to let you know that there's a call. It has radiant heat in the apron, so we don't have to worry about ice building up. So it really was built with safety in mind. Firefighter safety and health was top priority. We had a gym, yeah, great gym, well equipped gym, has a sauna.
Wow,
there's some
getting fancy up there.
yeah to help sweat out the carcinogens and chemicals you're exposed to after a fire. So it is.
Is that actually science? Is that actually?
It's arguable. There's little data to support it. It makes sense, and anecdotally, I know that I've talked to some guys that
you would think that your pores would store that,
absorb
right?
it, right? And I've talked to some guys that after a fire for a couple of days, you'll get in a shower and you'll go to wash your hair and you'll smell smoke. That's an experience a lot of people don't realize, but if you're in the fire service, but I've heard that they'll go in the sauna for an hour and sweat all that out, and then they don't have that smell. So maybe it's just the smell. I don't know if it's getting rid of the carcinogens. And last I checked, there wasn't any strong science yet, but logically it makes sense, and it doesn't hurt anything. So, but there is some other benefits.
You guys now have running water up there?
We did get running water soon after the station opened. Yep, finally got that, and yeah. Still got a nice meadow for the horses.
A stack of baby wipes over there, just like wiping each other off after a call.
Nice meadow for the horses to run in for the horse-drawn fire engines.
So I couldn't imagine though being in a 100-year-old station, right? I mean, that's it had to be in pretty bad shape.
It was, and the bad thing about it probably could have been remedied, but the new station was sort of in the works for years and years to where
it just takes money, right?
Yeah, but it was like, we're not going to replace the windows because we're going to be building one in a couple of years. Well, that couple of years turned into 10, 15, 20. Yeah, so those issues just started to compound. And
if they plywood over the windows.
Yeah. So and it was a really cool station, but it got pretty dilapidated there towards the end. And it was, now that station never had horses, but it was built for small 1920s fire engines. Right. So that was one of the biggest issues is we couldn't fit a modern pumper into there. We could. I've got a picture to where it literally there was about 2 inches on the sides of one of our Pierces, which those aren't even big trucks. They aren't raised cabs. So we ended up buying the last engine that was over there. We ended up buying a commercial cab. It was the only thing that fit in there. We were just in a pinch. The old engine, the old LaFrance that was 25 years old, stopped pumping. It didn't. So we had to take it out of service and do something. Mm-hmm. So that sort of spurred it, I think, a little bit to get the ball rolling on getting some modern facilities over there. But yeah, it's nice. We're fortunate now to have three nice stations. So
yeah, like Central got redone like 10 years ago.
06 is when that station was built. Yeah, is when we moved up there. So I worked in the old Central Station, which it was built in 1911. It did have horses at one time. Before I started, a couple years before I started. But yeah, no, it had I have a picture that it had a team of horses, 2 teams of horses actually that ran out of there. So ton of history. It was cool. I got to work the last shift that worked in that station. I was on duty, so I got to say that I was the last one to work there. So that was a cool experience. But again, modern facilities are the way to go. The nostalgia wears off when you're there 10 days a month and living there.
Like, man, it's badass in this old station and stuff,
Yeah.
and then you're like laying in a bunk looking over, you're like, dude, this is fucking disgusting.
Yeah, the diesel exhaust just running over your head, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
the ladder goes on a call, and you're like fucking blanket blown off of your bed. You're like, nice.
yeah. You got an old truck that needs to build air, so it's just sitting in the station idling with no exhaust, no ventilation. So yeah,
Feels like 3 guys are sitting there smoking a cigar right at the edge of your bed, just blowing it in.
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
pretty
that
nice.
wears off real quick, the cool factor. But yeah, it's good. I'm glad I got to experience it anyway.
So you went. So obviously, you kind of explained it there, buddy. So you go from lieutenant, obviously, then up to captain. So then you have to wait another 2 years after you're a lieutenant. You have to spend at least 2 years in that position before you can
Correct.
test up.
Yep,
So did anybody kind of give you that push to even test for lieutenant? They're like, hey, man, like,
No, pretty much everybody who is eligible takes the test, with the exception of maybe a couple.
Just for shits and gigs, and then they're like, hey, man, you're lieutenant, and you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, seriously, you're like, oh.
Yeah, it's funny because every time a test comes up, you'll be talking, and the common response is like, yeah, I don't know if I want the job. I mean, I'll probably take the test, but I don't think I really want it. But I've yet to see anybody.
Like, they offered, I ain't taking it.
Yeah, I've yet to see anybody turn it down ever. So yeah.
So once you got that lieutenant spot, that kind of changed things, right? Because like now you're kind of the guy that's in charge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and our system works out pretty good. You have 2 lieutenants assigned to a shift under the captain, so you get to rotate through. We usually will keep 1 lieutenant in central station, 1 out in the substation, rotate back and forth. So each gets a little bit of mentorship, I guess, under the captain to learn that job, because that's really your main role is to teach the person underneath of you how to do your job, and everybody should have that attitude in the fire service.
So just so everybody can understand, so like you said substation, right? So are you guys the main operations you're running are out of central, and then you're considering the other 2 stations substations?
Correct. Yeah, both of those just have 2 or 3 people and 1 engine. So we have 3 engine companies, and then central is where the captain, the shift commander, works, as well as the chief works on their day shift. The training officer works in there. We have a secretary, and new probationary firefighters will almost always be assigned in central, where they can get the most experience. It's the busiest station, so they can get a lot of experience, a lot more tools and things to learn in there. So they'll spend some time in central before they get shipped out, because you're a lot more independent in a substation. So there's a lot more expected of you.
How many ladder companies?
1 ladder.
Truck companies, sorry. Yeah. Okay, so 1 ladder. That's in central?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, we have a 100-foot platform.
Platform, okay.
Yeah, so we have...
That's what I was going to ask, stick or platform.
Yeah, we have 1 or 2 people assigned to the ladder company, 2 or 3 people assigned to the rescue, and 3 people for the engine company in central, or 4, depending on what we're working with. So, yeah, keeps you busy.
Mitch once again said they're all firehouses. There's such thing as a substation.
Yeah, a sub.
Sub like Subway?
Yeah, exactly.
But so now once you get stuck in these substations, so when guys are assigned to these stations, are you guys? Is that just all up to the chief? Like, who's going to get stationed there?
It's up to the captains.
Do you guys bid, or?
Yeah, pretty much. It's up to the captains. We've done it a ton of different ways over the years. It used to be every 6 months we would just rotate. That guarantees that everyone is equally inexperienced with the apparatus they're on. So that is sort of went to the wayside. Now it's every year that we'll... it really depends on the shift captain. My shift, we bid on it, so we just go in seniority. So if you get enough time in and you want to stay on that engine in that substation, you can stay right there till you retire if you want to. Or if you want to switch around just for change of scenery, that's cool too. But yeah, it's 1 year assignments in that station. And I'm stuck now in central, so I'll be there till I retire. But I did get to work in the new station though. So
you mentioned about a rescue.
Mm-hmm.
Like a full-on rescue, like heavy rescue, or?
Yeah, I don't think it quite meets the definition of a heavy rescue. I haven't looked at the list of heavy rescue requirements for a few years, but I think there's just a couple things. Most people would consider it a heavy rescue, though. We just got a new rescue truck, actually, about a little less than a year ago, a Sutphen, and it's a very, very nice
Is it
apparatus.
a walk-in?
No, it's not a walk-in, but it's a 5-person cab, custom cab with it's got the
big money
lift
up
on
there
the
in
top.
Fairmont getting custom cabs, huh?
Yeah. Well, they last longer. I mean,
well, they do, right? Instead of buying
just
a regular commercial unit.
Right. Yeah, it's purpose built, and a lot of people might not realize there's a huge cost difference. And for the non-fire service people, that's the fire trucks that look like a box versus the fire trucks that look like a tractor trailer cab. So
right,
it's custom and commercial. So the commercial cab, it just comes off the shelf or chassis, and not really intended to necessarily be a fire truck. It could have grown up to be a school bus, but they don't have the durability or the capacity, so they really just don't hold up quite as well.
Ben said it's a cute rescue.
Thanks. That's perfect.
So I'm assuming that he's talking trash, because I assume that he's saying that it's not on the same level as Bridgeport's rescue, right?
That's fair. Yeah,
they got $400,000 worth of Paratech Gold series in there.
Yeah. They have a nice rescue truck. Of course, they run a ton of interstate.
Man, when's the last time you guys used this Paratechs?
Right, yeah.
No, but I'm just messing. No, you guys actually do run up in Fairmont. You guys do run some Paratechs, right? Actually,
we do.
Do you think I've seen where you guys had an accident maybe last year where a car came off of the not the main
off the retaining wall.
Off the retaining wall down, and you guys were actually able to stabilize it. And actually was not familiar that there was actually anybody around here that could afford Paratech struts.
It's the basic, it's the basic setup, just a couple struts. But that's solid
got
stuff.
4x4s out here putting it up against the side of the car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Paratech systems, it's pretty slick.
It is insane.
It's all modular, and you can do a lot with it. So you can sort of build it out.
You buy, certain sets you're using for vehicle stabilization, and then you can also kind of cross-platform that with shoring, right?
Yeah, and trench rescue.
Shoring, yeah.
There's a lot you can do with it. It's pretty nice.
Sometimes, and I don't know if you guys run into this, but I know with some bigger departments, being volunteer, we kind of control what we buy, but it's kind of harder sometimes for you guys to be able to sell to the people that are writing the checks, like, hey, we need this kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
This kind of stuff makes a huge difference between us getting the job done or, really getting the job done. Some stuff you can kind of wing, but then other things you have to have.
Right. Yeah. And you're right. As a municipality, you have to go through by state code. You have a lot of regulations. So you have to have, 3 bids for everything over a certain price. But we typically will have a committee that will determine what our needs are and sort of spec out the stuff under the direction of the chief. So we're fortunate. To have a pretty good budget to be able to search out the things that we really need and that will serve us for years to come. So a lot of times, it's more expensive equipment. It's hard to justify, but it's the whole buy once, cry once, and then it lasts you for a lifetime type thing. So we try to do that.
Right. So when we kind of started looking to get into battery, right? We're man, there's 55 different brands out here, and everybody's about the same, right? And so at our department, we've had a bunch of different kind of sets of tools. We've had TNT, we had Amicus, had some Purse at one time, I think. And so recently we're looking, and at first I was thinking, there's the Montrose who look really nice, and the new Amicus looks pretty nice. So we actually want to go with TNT. And then some people are like, TNT. But listen, when we looked at it, they were the only battery tool that had a lifetime guarantee on the body of the tool. That if we tear anything up on the tool, they will replace everything but the battery. Yeah. And anybody else we looked at had a 5-year warranty on it. So if we tear anything up on it, they'll replace it.
We looked at those. When we brought our rescue tools, we brought electronic rescue tools probably 7-8 years ago. And I was on that committee also where we did a pretty thorough comparison. I'm a nerd when it comes to if I'm going to buy anything. I'm going to spend days researching it and comparing it and making spreadsheets. So,
well, you rather would, right, than buy it. Somebody's like, nobody told us this thing was a piece of shit.
Yeah, so you're right. There are a lot of manufacturers, and a lot of them meet very similar specs. So it came down to Hurst and Holmatro, and I know there's a lot of Hurst fans. That's the original. The original Jaws of Life was Hurst.
The
Holmatro,
only bad
though,
thing that I've actually seen and have heard about the Hurst is that you have a dedicated battery system, right? So if you would have issues with when Monty and first was, I think, one of really the first departments that I seen around here that was running a battery tool.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is that they had is that I guess some people don't understand, right? Is like you can't really run a tool like halfway and then put it on charge, right? You kind of need to like run the battery down and then charge it, and then run the battery down and then charge it. You can't like have it out for 5 minutes and then put it on there and leave it on the charger forever.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't really overcharge, it's not good for the life cycle of the battery. But then they were getting to where they were having their tools and then the batteries were just shit. Well, now it's to the point where manufacturers are like, hey, listen, we are able to run these off of the same batteries that you can go to Lowe's or Home Depot and buy instead of having to just go through Hurst and buy this ridiculously priced battery.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I think manufacturers need to go to is they probably sell a lot more of them then. Of course, they want to have their proprietary battery to sell more of those. But
so our TNT that we got, it runs on Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
So we can just buy Milwaukee
off the shelf.
We run we run 12 amps. We bought a couple 12 amps, and I can actually tell you that we extricated somebody about a month or so ago, and at the end of it, the battery was just about dead. But like you were able to.
That's pretty impressive.
So, I mean, we still on our so the way that we run it, we run a heavy rescue that we run a set of cutters, a set of spreaders, and then we got a unit, another power unit down below. Okay, so these are our rails, power units under the truck, and then down here we have another power unit that's separate that we can just take with us.
Mm-hmm.
And then just in case, it's further away from the truck. I mean, granted, we should never be more than 100 feet away from the truck, but I guess in that instance, if you had to extricate two the vehicle at one time, you have the tool capacity.
Yeah, and you always have the powered wired backup, which ours have. So
right.
Run an extension cord down to it.
Exactly. Yeah. So and then we run our battery tool on our pickup that we kind of use is kind of just like a hot truck. That if we get a vehicle accident with entrapment, and you have two guys there that aren't able to drive a heavy rescue, you can kind of get out the door and kind of get the show started.
Right.
While the heavy rescue is on its way.
Mm-hmm.
Or if we get there and you got to go over the hillside, sometimes you don't want to take those tools.
Right.
The hydraulics over the hill. You can just take a battery.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have rescue tools on all of our engines, but historically, I mean, you're 3-4 minutes out difference waiting on a rescue, so you can still manage those first 3-4 steps of doing your 360, sizing it up, and starting stabilizing because we carry cribbing and stabilization on every apparatus. So, yeah, it's all what you got and planning out what you're going to have.
Ben was telling me, sorry, I was reading. He said that I don't know if he's talking about the Hurst in specific, but he said that they have adapters that plug into 110 volt if the battery fails. They said the new chargers have smart charge systems that can recondition, just like portable radio batteries.
Right. Yeah. And what you said was true. It really depends on the type of battery technology you're using, though. So most of them are smart enough to where it's not going to cook them, and you don't have to run them all the way down. That was true at one time.
I think that they probably didn't have. I mean, when those came out, probably over 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
And then now Hurst has came out with their new i3 or whatever it is that are like kind of waterproof.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like they've really came a long ways. But I'm talking about the Series 1 Hurst when they came out.
Right.
They were just like batteries were awful.
Yeah.
But like you said, you kind of have to look at that because when you spend $40,000 on a set of tools, you're expecting those to last.
Right.
I mean, you probably have some companies out here that still have the original hydraulic tools they've had for the last 20 years, right?
Yeah, and we do. We still have, Amphis that were on a rescue prior to replacing them with these, and they work just fine. I mean, they don't quite have the modern materials or higher pressures, but for 90% of your cuts and spreads, it's going to do the job. So, still able to keep it in service as a backup and a spare to supplement for sure.
Now, this is something that we have now gotten into like a really weird with these EV cars, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is really weird. So the other day I was looking, and this is something that was kind of brought up maybe as like either departments would go in or maybe a county association or something like that would kind of go in. Have you seen Rosenbauer's EV extinguisher that they have?
I don't believe I have.
Okay, so
is it a roll-off dumpster?
No. So it's a unit that actually gets slid underneath, and it basically has a piercing nozzle.
Yeah, like a cellar
that goes
nozzle.
up into it. Yep.
Yeah.
And then you're that way because I actually seen the task force tips. Somebody else in our department we were talking about this. Like, yeah, you see what task force tips have, and all it is a humongous long handle you hook to an 1 3/4 line, and it has just 3 tips that just point to the belly of the skid plate and just spray water. I'm like, you're not really doing anything, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, at that point,
you're cooling it because lithium reacts violently with water. So if you go piercing cells that weren't already pierced, you're going to make things worse. But I think that a lot of people don't realize, they say they sprayed 500,000 gallons of water or whatever on a car before it went out. It's like, you didn't put it out. You sprayed water until it burnt out. You didn't put it out. So
so that Rosenbauer system is $30,000.
Wow.
Yeah, we looked at it. We're like, man, that's something that we have a decent amount of interstate.
Mm-hmm.
So that we're like, man, this would be a huge thing. Where we don't have. I mean, we in Long County, we got some decent money here, and so there is people that do have Teslas and stuff. But I mean, you have probably a lot more Teslas driving through Long County on the interstate than you do in Long County. So we're thinking we may start getting a lot of vehicle fire.
Yeah.
Looked into it, oh my god. Like $30,000 for something you may or may not use ever.
Right. Yeah.
And
that's
so
true.
far, we've not gotten an EV fire in Long County that I know of.
Yeah. We had one. I wasn't on it. I was off duty and I just kind of caught bits and pieces. So I'm not sure the details on it. I think it was actually a Jeep, if I remember right, which I didn't know that Jeep even made EVs, hybrid.
Dude, it's like everybody's getting into the EV game, right?
Yeah.
And I did see where I guess Tesla is starting to engineer a fire suppression with their Teslas to where I guess probably because they're getting sued, right?
Yeah, that's probably bad PR for them. So if they could start engineering a solution to sell to departments or whatever, that's a good idea. I hadn't seen that.
Every news article that you've seen about an EV fire was it took blah Fairmont Fire Department 50,000 gallons to extinguish this car. The car is then taken to the junkyard where it reignited.
To finish burning out.
An additional 100,000 gallons, and now the city of Fairmont has no drinking water.
Right.
It's insane. I mean, and I guess we're in a weird transition because when you started out, 20 years ago,
mm-hmm.
and then throw a little bit more years on top of that, probably 25. When you kind of started out as a junior, you're fighting house fires for houses that were built in the 50s, 60s, old, right? And those are totally different houses. And then now you're getting into houses that are burning at triple the speed, right? They said that before you technically had I think it was 40 to 45 minutes to typically escape a house fire in an older built. Now it's 5 to 7 minutes.
Yeah, it's drastically less, especially mainly just due to the contents. So we still have a lot of Fairmont exploded back in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. So that's when the majority of our houses were built. So we have a ton of balloon construction. I usually tell new guys, you learn about balloon construction in Firefighter 1, and then oftentimes may or may not ever see it again. But that's our bread and butter. I mean, most of the fires we have are balloon construction. So it's all about knowing your response district, and that changes throughout your career. So knowing your construction types and what it's changing to. And that also goes for vehicles. So yeah, you're right. We used to have, I can remember when I started having a lot more vehicle fires than what we have now, it seems like. And that's, I'm sure, due to construction, better techniques on, more modern vehicles. But yeah, it's constantly changing for sure.
Well, right. I mean, back when you started too, I mean, you probably had people that still were running carbureted engines.
Mm-hmm.
And then you probably had some people running a damn 5-gallon jug in the engine bay siphoning it out, right? It's kind of crazy just the way that, like, and I tell people, I'm like, man, right around this time is when we really get a big bulk of fires. We get some fires in the summer, but right about now, you have these people that are starting to run 5 space heaters off of a Dollar Tree
Yeah, extension
cord or power strip, and this is when you get a lot of house fires. You get a lot of fatal house fires, right? This is like a really dangerous time.
Yeah, for sure. And that's we have a lot of fires in Fairmont. It's of course it's declined some over my career, but most of what we do never makes the news or headlines. And I mean, if you're able to put out a fire in 5 minutes and it never spreads out of the original room, it's not very newsworthy. So, but yeah, you're right. It definitely starts picking up this time of year, and urging people to check their smoke alarms because they work.
It's insane the amount of like places that you go. Like, and it kind of opened my eyes up a lot too. Some of our first due area is, there is a good section of houses that kind of have some slumlords, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you will go down to these houses, and sometimes they're just like CO calls, and you go in, and that's when you really get to see the houses, you know, in good lighting. And you walk in, and you're like, holy fuck, that outlet is on the ground.
Yeah.
Like the outlet, like touching the ground.
Yeah. We have a
And
lot
you're
of,
like,
we do it with medical calls, same thing. You see hoarder homes and that's usually the ones, most fires are contributed to electrical, but it's just the high volume of fire load of just crap in a lot of houses that leads to fires. So yeah, we see a lot of it on medical calls. We get to experience, and it's amazing how many houses will have catch on fire that we have had medical calls to before, that we've been in that house before. So
oh yeah,
I always encourage, offering to check people's smoke alarms while we're in there for medical, assuming it's appropriate. Once we get the patient loaded up, say, hey, I heard your smoke alarm chirping. You mind if we just change your battery while we're here? And
like,
almost always
been
people
chirping
like,
for years.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, they start to tune it out, but it works. I'd rather change a few batteries than take a body out of a fire. So it's a good PR to offer that little bit extra above and beyond service.
No, it is. It really is, and it's so you guys probably kind of went through the same situation that we did, right? Is we used to, so we, as our department, we run about 750, maybe 800 some years, maybe 700 some years.
Mm-hmm.
And then when this whole drug epidemic hit, right, that kind of changed everything.
Yeah,
That kind of, like, I can tell you that we, in this, it really seems to pick up a lot around this time of the year too, especially with holidays and stuff like that. That we run probably a record amount of overdoses.
Yeah,
around this time of the year,
which is sadly a reflection of, I think, one of the contributors to the opioid epidemic of loneliness. People using that as a crutch to not deal with whatever issues, depression that they have. And this time of year, you've got seasonal changes, and that leads to more, maybe depression or psychological issues, and people that may otherwise have not been using anything are resorting back to that or using it more often. So yeah, I could see that. I've never noticed that trend, but I'm sure that exists.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really this is like it seems like it's the busiest time of the year that comes up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're getting most of your house fires, and I don't know what it is. We normally go from like normally from January right around to literally like October, November is we have a lot of car wrecks. That's like our bread and butter. But like right around like November to December, January and stuff, when it starts to get cold, like most of the car wrecks really stop.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we start getting all of our fires coming in. And people are like, I wonder why you guys don't get any wrecks and stuff when I'm like, people are driving too slow.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Like people are driving too slow to even get injured in a car wreck. I mean, it could happen, but
yeah.
And like up in Fairmont, well, you guys have a lot of old buildings up there, right?
Yeah.
A lot of old apartment buildings, a lot of old houses and stuff like that. And you probably honestly have some people that kind of seal their houses off, right? Especially this time of the year. You have some people that are maybe not even living upstairs, just living downstairs. And
yeah, you have some of that for sure.
It kind of changes the way that you kind of respond to fires and stuff, right? Because I mean, normally.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of old buildings, and again, knowing your district that have been repurposed to different things. Turned, we've got an old school and an old hospital, old that have both been turned into apartments now. Nice apartments, very nice apartments, very well done. But they are still old buildings. Fortunately, they've been upgraded to modern codes and meet all that with sprinkler systems and everything.
So one time we went on a structure fire to a trailer, and it was actually a duplex. It was a trailer that was literally in the middle of the trailer. They built a wall.
Yeah, that's funny. Very small duplexes.
Put two apartments on each side of the trailer. And what was funny is we didn't even realize it because it was just a small fire. It was actually a decent fire, but the first two company, they got a knock on it, and we came up and we're like, what do you help with? They're like, I'll just help with vent it. We're like, all right, cool. So one of our guys grabbed the pressure fan, took it over, put it in front of the door, and we're sitting there and we're like, this place ain't fucking vent. We're like, what's going on here? And the guys walked out and they're like, what are you guys doing? He's like, we're putting this door over here. He said, nah, there's a wall in the middle of this place.
Yeah, I've had some similar things. Like, you don't realize it's a duplex. What? Yeah, you walk in, it's clear air.
Duplex in a trailer.
Right. Yeah, I never would have thought that either.
Yeah, that kind of changed things. But so I know I've had you on here for a while. We'll try to kind of wrap it up a little bit. So went from lieutenant, right, and then that was a decent amount of responsibility, and then went up to captain, and then now you kind of went from you said there's 4 lieutenants in the whole entire department, and then you went
6,
up to
yeah, to 2 per shift.
6. Okay,
yeah, 2 per shift,
and then you went up to 3 captains.
Yeah, correct. So you have two lieutenants reporting to 1 captain. So yeah, I made it up to captain about a year ago, and I was fortunate to stay on my shift. Not that there's anything wrong with any of the other shifts, but you get a real good working relationship with the guys that you've worked with. So a handful of them I've worked my whole career with, and we get to know each other's strengths, weaknesses, and ragging on each other. So the cultural side of it, but also we have a lot of newer, younger firefighters that have a great attitude, come in wanting to learn stuff. So, as a new captain, I like doing training, also an instructor. So it's great to sort of roll that in and have people thirsty for knowledge. So I've been very fortunate in that aspect for sure.
And I think you told me before when you sent me your bio, WBU instructor or
PST,
public training.
Yeah,
okay.
PST, and taught EMS.
Some guys do, that's kind of
both.
One or the other.
Yeah, sadly, WVU I don't know does. I mean, they focus on the junior academy, but
so
I'm not sure if they do.
I was really confused here, right? Brandon, the guy that kind of helps me with the podcast sometimes. Now down south a little bit, I think WVU extension is more involved.
Yeah,
and then I think PST's kind of got it on lock up here. I don't think I've seen a WVU class in a while, like probably ever actually.
Yeah, I mean, back when they used to do the fire schools when they're still in Morgantown, but
yeah,
and I think from what I've understood, a lot of that's funding issues. They're a little more independent, which is weird. They're an extension service, so they fall under the umbrella of WVU, but I don't think they get funding necessarily like from the university. Versus PST is a co-op, sort of falls under the Department of Education. Although their funding isn't great. I
don't think they get enough money.
No, they don't. Their budget has been pretty much unchanged for 20 years. So
right, like I bitch about it all the time. And I really do. I'm very vocal about it. Is like, they're like, you need to have these classes, right? And it's like they never have these classes.
Yeah, but
like
you just request them. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that, with if there's a class your department wants, you can reach out to an instructor if you know one.
Yeah.
I know a guy. But if you can put in an official request, or you can get with an instructor and arrange it with them to set up your dates or whatever. So
I think the biggest issue that I see sometimes is the lack of instructors, right? So
there's a huge demand right now.
Took a vehicle. I was going to say vehicle extrication class, but the vehicle rescue class. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I've recently been searching, trying to get my tech. Mm-hmm. Right? So, Josh Tompkins.
Mm-hmm.
You're familiar with him? Okay.
Yep.
So he taught the vehicle rescue and then was going to teach the tech class. Well, the problem is he was very well planning on doing that, and then somebody, dropped out of teaching EMT.
Yeah.
So then you kind of get like sucked in, and I know that like there is a humongous demand for EMTs, and it's way more important for them to keep getting people certified as EMTs than me, knowing 95 other ways to cut somebody out of the vehicle.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
sometimes
and
I really
scheduling,
want to see.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And every instructor, I mean, you get your instructor credentials. Technically, you can teach any class that you've had, but everybody has their forte. I mean, Bridgeport, those guys have a lot more rescues than we do.
Mm-hmm. You kind of got to take classes for what your department's demand is, right? Like, we don't do water rescue.
Right.
And I actually had a couple guys that I took my Fire 1 with that were taking, like, swift rescue classes, because some of them were from Maryland and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually came over, and I was like, dude, hey, man, come take it. I said, dude, we don't have any swift water around here.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's no reason for me to take that. Like,
right. Yeah, that's true. Knowing what services you're potentially going to need and what skills you've got the tools to maintain. I mean, going and just taking a class just for the fun of it, okay, great, but you can't expect to be proficient on Swiftwater if you don't have Swiftwater equipment or anybody to train with. So it's not like you can just take a class, learn it, and then you're good to go for 20 years. You have to maintain that proficiency if you really want to be serious about a discipline like that. So whether it be hazmat or any of the disciplines.
Sorry. Dude, Mitch always has me cracking. He said behave, San Julie, and there's a doctor in the house. Okay, so I'll ask you about that. You guys don't wear salad bowls up in Fairmont, right?
No.
Okay.
No, we used to.
You guys used to be enforcing the salad bowls?
We do have, we used to have those, the turtle shells. We do have some Euro helmets, probably about a quarter of our guys. We got
Euro
the option.
Helmets, really?
Yeah, we got the option last time we bought helmets, and some guys preferred them, some didn't.
Listen, I hate to say it, I really do, and I never really realized it. There's actually our old assistant chief used to have one, and the only cool thing about it is the built-in light, and the built-in shield, right? Like click a button and you're like Buzz Lightyear, right?
Yeah, they're very much purpose built, and I think that they're great. I didn't get one just because I didn't like the brand that we had available. There's a couple other brands that I probably would have went with, but the guys that have them love them for fires. Really, the only complaint that any of them have is wearing them for non-fire stuff. They say they can't hear real well. So, which I can see that, it's covering your ears. And, but yeah, I mean, they're purpose built, and it's a, it's PPE, not a fashion show. So I don't rag on them or anything.
That's true. So like how we're talking about like PSD, like in a perfect world, right? If we would just say that we would eventually get to the point where we have this kind of funding, which it's going to have to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see, you have your people that work at, the PSD all the time anyways. You would, so like right now, I'm getting ready to take my officer classes. So I take my officer classes online, which, has made it a lot easier for a lot of people to get certifications. And then I do my in-person, practicals. The one thing that I never understood why they haven't got more into this is I can get a college degree completely online, right? And most colleges accept that. Why we haven't got to the point to where we have, at your own pace, Fire 1 classes, and then, you're able to, your department's able to pay for it. They have you sign up. They give you the key. You go and take it just like I took my Fire 1 and my Fire 2 online. And then you have one or two instructors that are paid Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And then you're able to schedule, and, you'd be able to fill the classes for, your students to be able to actually go and do their practicals.
Yeah, I think that model. Sorry, my video card there froze up.
No,
I got
it's
it
okay.
fixed. I was stuck on a funny face, but yeah, I did have audio just fine there. So yeah, I think that model is catching on more and more online education. Although when you have practical skills, it's hard to really get those squeezed in and become proficient on it.
It is. I know it's really hard, but I mean, man, it is like in the state, and I know it's for a reason. You're a safety guy. You understand this.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to have it, but it's honestly becoming impossible for somebody that works a 9 to 5, job. Or I mean, I'm lying because nobody barely even works 9 to 5 these days. You have literally crazy schedules, and you have people that don't have weekends off. And right now, most of the classes that we even offer are on the weekends.
Yeah.
And then a lot of them, you're required to take a firefighter 1. You're required to go to, most of the time, 2 classes throughout the week, and then on the weekends. And it's like nobody can do that.
Right. Oh yeah, no doubt. And
we're gonna have to figure something out.
Yeah, when you have instructors, and myself included, that
you work a full-time job, and then you're
right, and a completely different schedule. I mean, we're working 24 hours. The days of the week really have no bearing on anything. So time off is rotating. So last time I did a Fire 1 class, or any class really, I mean, it's just a really weird. It's not like I can say, okay, every Tuesday and Thursday, because some of those times I'm working. So yeah, that complicates things. But yeah, there's definitely a need for more instructors too. I think there's an instructor class starting right now or coming up real soon, but unfortunately, a lot of people don't follow through, or maybe can't. I mean, it's a lot of requirements to get your actual. You can just go take the class, but that doesn't make you an instructor. There's a lot more on top of that.
Yeah, I see that in order to be an instructor, that you need to have like a 90% pass rate on.
It's 80 or 85, I think, but yeah, you have to go back
so
and
take
take
as high that I thought. Okay,
you have to take your Fire 1 written test, Fire 2 written test, hazmat ops.
And you have to retake them.
Yeah. Yep.
Damn, some of these
higher
guys
credentials.
20 years now, right?
Yeah. So I definitely brushed up before, because it had been a while. So, and techniques and stuff change, but yeah. And then on top of that, you are you do have a teaching license, just like a teacher. It's an adult education certificate through the West Virginia Department of Education. So you have to meet those requirements. So just like you remember back in high school when you'd have a student teacher come in for a little while,
right?
You have to do student teaching to be observed by another instructor for 16 hours. So there's a lot to go through for that to get to it, but it's worth it if it's something you're passionate about. And I definitely like teaching instruction. It's fun to me to come up with techniques of how to convey information, and then to where it's memorable. So yeah, I enjoy it. So if it's something anybody's passionate about, I strongly recommend you just go through with it.
Yeah. Now, with you being an EMS guy, I know Ben probably love this. Now, how I kind of just said about how they need to introduce it into where you're able to do it easier, right? There's actually a junior in our fire department. I didn't even know that they did this. This may be something new, because he's actually now doing a 2-year program for his EMT through our technical center. So by the time he graduates, yes, in high school.
Okay.
So by the time he graduates, he will be able to take his national test.
Right. Yeah. Harrison County did something like that years ago. I don't believe they do anymore, but their VOTEC had a public safety, public
Is it
service.
hard? Do you think the issue you run into that with is that you have to have the required amount of hours still to fulfill that rate? So if you are a kid whose family goes on vacation, 5 days,
Mhm.
every summer, you're now missing 10 days worth of hours over those 2 years, and then now you're not eligible to take your national
Right.
test because you don't have the hours.
Well, no, I think it's integrated into the school, or at least that one was. It was in the actual curriculum. So, in the afternoons during your senior year, you
Mhm.
would take the bus to the VOTEC Center and knock out your EMT or your Fire One
Right.
courses.
The way they do it down here is they go like one day they go to regular school,
Mhm.
and then the other day they go to like MTech, like
Yeah.
their technical.
Yeah, maybe 2 or 3 days a week. So I could see
Right.
how that would spread it out, and I think that's great to get that training available. And I mean, that might increase candidate pools statewide. I mean, it's an issue for sure.
Honestly, I'll like I always say is I don't think you'll ever really fix the issue
Right.
unless you bump the pay. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
you have some kids that why am I going to go to MTech? Well, that's like our VOTEC center.
Mhm.
And do an EMT class to get out and make $14 an hour.
Right. Oh yeah.
Or
yeah,
am I going to do the plumbing or the welding or the electrician class
Make
and
$30
get out
an
and
hour.
make
Yeah.
$30 an hour?
Yeah.
Me and Jimmy went to school together. He's now a plumber, and I'm now picking some of his grandma off the ground
Yeah, for
for
minimum
like
wage.
$14 an hour. Yeah.
Yeah, that's for certain. It needs
And I
fire
think
and
that's what's
EMS.
killing it too.
Yeah,
Right?
for sure.
And I know that, like, okay, so Monk County, I think now, I think I seen Monty Mess is paying EMTs like 17 an hour.
Mhm.
But then I just seen that Anmore was paying like, and these are just drivers there, right? They're paying a part-time driver like $10 an hour.
Yeah.
And it's like, I understand that Anmore can't pay the same that Monk County can pay.
Yeah, and then they
So
end up
then,
paying.
depending on that area, you're going to have a lot less EMTs up there than you would down here.
Yeah, and then they end up paying 3 times more for their insurance premiums because they have less qualified drivers. Not picking on more or anywhere else, but
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
there's ripple effects from that, of having that reduced candidate pool that you're going to pay now or later, one way or another. Sadly, so yeah, that's definitely an issue though. But
Yeah,
it's
I don't know
even
if
in
there's
bigger cities where they do make more money. So there's just less and less people turning to public safety, military, law enforcement. But I've enjoyed it.
What I've kind of noticed is bigger cities sometimes really don't have that issue, right? Because what they do is, and I've always kind of had a problem with this. I've always had a really strong opinion, is that the municipalities use the fire departments as an scapegoat for their budget. So instead of providing, a medical service and a fire service, they just combine the two
Mhm.
and just say, "Hey, listen, I know we're only paying you $40,000 a year. Now you're a paramedic and you're a firefighter."
Yeah.
So if you look at other places, you have paramedics, just paramedics, that are making $65,000,
Mhm.
and then you have some places where firefighters are making, we'll just say around the same, but you're doing both jobs
Yeah,
for
and that's
$45,000.
I don't know that it's making them the scapegoat, but it's like that for 2 different reasons, and it really
Mhm.
depends on the direction that your city is going. So Bridgeport, for example, was a combination department 10 years ago. They started out with paid EMS, kind of like Anmore and a lot of other volunteer departments, which also gave them the benefit of having some paid firefighters because they were doing both jobs. So it was win-win because, ran more EMS, but you had somebody there to drive the fire truck at least, supplemented with
Right.
volunteers. And then as they grow, it's hard to just separate those or stop that service, and you wouldn't want to. You just increase your staffing and you continue to have that overlap. But in the late 90s, it's no secret the IAFF, the firefighters union, had a stance of, there's less and less fires, thank goodness, because we've had better technology, engineering, inspection, code enforcement, but there's less fires. So, but we still need them whenever there is a fire. You have to have the same number of staffing. So, in order to justify the professional firefighters' existence, offer another service, and that was EMS, fire-based EMS. But it was, it's win-win. You have fire stations that are already in the communities that are closer than an EMS station, spread out less. So that was whenever you really saw an uptick of fire departments offering medical services. And I think it's more the norm now. I mean, I can remember when I started, it was year 2 or 3 of Fairmont offering EMS. But back then, a lot of people would be like, "Oh, we called an ambulance. What's a fire truck doing here?" But now it's just like, they're expecting that and they understand how it works. So it's good. It's a good service. And like I said, we're out in the community a lot more, in houses, offering other things. Change the smoke alarm battery while we're there. So it's a good service.
So I don't have a problem with how Bridgeport runs theirs, right? Like, I understand they run the ambulance to respond there. But I kind of hate when you have departments that are running an ambulance fully out of their running, just random 911 calls, right? You're running them away from, how Bridgeport they run their own 911 calls, and then they transport, right? So they're not a dedicated 911 service, right? Like they don't, somebody doesn't call for a chest pain all the way across town, and then they run over, to Clarksburg.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, they have mutual aid agreements automatic with the county.
Right.
So
but my thing is, where I go with that is, and this is off of statistics, is you have a fire department like Detroit Fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Running more fires than anybody, in the United States. Now, since they have gotten to the point where they didn't have the budget to also provide an EMS service, now they have made their firefighters all become EMTs as a requirement, and they're now running an EMS service out of there. But the issue that I have with that is that if I'm paying for taxes for a paid firefighter, fire department, to respond to my house because my house is on fire, now I don't have as many firefighters responding to my house because now they are running a transport, or they're running, going to the same frequent flyer's house because he's having a tummy ache.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I understand that it's gotten to the point to where with paid fire departments is you kind of had to say, once there wasn't 50 house fires a day, because we figured out to put thatch roofs wasn't a good idea, right? Is that instead of them just saying, hey, we don't really need paid firefighters, you kind of had to prove why you were able to still be there. And we run medical calls as far as cardiac arrest, falls greater than 10 feet, but we don't run back pains or breathing problems or anything like that.
Well, yeah, we just go on life threatening. I mean, if it's just somebody with a tummy ache or whatever, we don't go on that. But
which I don't have a problem with certain things, like you said, if EMS is all the way across town. Because half the time, they're supposed to have 8 trucks, but they really only have 3. And they're getting killed, then, fire is able to get there a lot
provide
quicker.
A level of care. Yeah.
Right. But what I was meaning by using it as an scapegoat was where they had an EMS service in that community, and then they were like, okay, we can't provide this anymore, so now we're putting it on the fire department.
Yeah. Right. And maybe so. And that could be beneficial in some areas, and maybe just a budget cut in others.
Right? Because I know that sometimes you have some fire departments that really don't have the budget. The municipality doesn't have the budget to provide a decent salary for the firefighters, so by them providing the EMS service, they're bringing in the additional income to be able to pay more.
Yeah.
Which I can kind of understand that. I just always kind of hated when you mix the two together.
Yeah. When you're doing the convalescent transports out of nursing homes, I mean, that ties up a lot of resources, and you're not really dedicated firefighters anymore. So it definitely does take away.
That's why, when Ben explained to me that they do run an ambulance, but they only run it on their own calls, that kind of made sense, right?
Right.
Because you're on a vehicle accident, you guys, they just kind of take a transport, and then they're back in service. just in case they're needed.
Right. Yeah, they're
So.
keeping their service, at least the priority of their service being for their citizens, which is fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, man. I know I've had you on here for a while. You probably want to go ahead here. Okay.
All good.
I think we pretty much covered a good bit of everything. We kind of went over your career a little bit, and then kind of starting out at the bottom and then moving up. Any like, are you comfortable where you're at? I don't want you to like people think you're here headhunting for their position, but are you comfortable where you're at, or are you thinking you maybe want to move up, keep moving up, or?
Yeah, I mean, I still like my job. I mean, I of course, if opportunity opens up for chief or chief level officer somewhere else, I'd consider it.
No, your safety officer now, is that your captain, or you have a dedicated safety officer?
We do. The training officer is the safety officer for the department. That position currently, he just the former one just got promoted to chief, so that position is currently vacant. We'll be testing in February, into January for that spot. So yeah, I'll take the test.
Right.
Not sure.
I don't know if you having a degree or whatever in safety. Anyways, I don't know if you guys even take that into consideration. That kind of no.
Not in the civil service. It doesn't matter anything. It's all about that test and how long you've worked there without getting fired.
But that kind of gives you a little bit of a leg up on people, right? Because like you are very familiar with the way that things should be.
Yeah, I mean, it's a code enforcement test, or heavily in fire inspection. Code enforcement is what that promotional test is. I took it before, and no spot opened up. I'm not sure if I'll take it. It's Monday through Friday, and that's a big adjustment from working 24 hours. I know people who work Monday through Friday think like, well, of course you should want that, but so it's 40 hours a week, so it's less hours, but it's a big adjustment.
What are you 24 on 48 off, right?
It's equivalent to that. I mean, we have 3 platoons. We don't actually work that pattern, but I like our schedule a little bit better actually than what that is, because we never work. If you pick up overtime, we never work more than 24 hours with our schedule. But so that's a heck of an adjustment, and so we'll see. I'd consider it. I mean, I wouldn't get anything else for being an instructor in that position. So I don't know. It change of pace. I like my gig. I like the guys that I work with.
Yeah.
I like being the shift captain. So we'll see. I don't know. It's possible though.
Yeah, well, I mean, you obviously you took your time and put in a lot of time to get your degrees. Do you feel like you? So did you take them because you wanted them, or did you take them to help you with your current career? Did you take them thinking that maybe that would have been
all the above?
Something you would have wanted? Okay,
all three of those.
Obviously, everything. It's not like you randomly went and got a degree in like poetry, right?
Find out right.
Like something that really didn't have anything to do with it. I mean, you got an emergency management degree,
right?
And you got one in public safety.
Yeah, well, just safety, occupational safety, and safety management from WVU. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of overlap, and I chose those because they related to my job. It has helped me immensely. You're right. It helps on promotional exams.
Right?
It did.
Like the bigger picture, where you look at it, like when you don't have that kind of knowledge, you kind of look at it, you're like, this situation could be bad.
Yeah.
But with having that knowledge, you look at it, you're like, holy shit, this could be catastrophic, right? You're like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, that's for sure. And my dissertation research was on emergency vehicle crashes. So, I mean, that's changed my whole perception of risk and reward and driving techniques. So,
it should, right? Because you see on the news all the time, there's a video of a fire truck.
Yeah.
And I'm not picking on the firefighters, but a video of a fire truck running an intersection.
Yeah, we killed
in a car, right? Like
we killed 10 civilians. We killed 10 innocent civilians for every one firefighter fatality in a crash. You cannot justify that. There is nothing you can do to justify that.
I talk about that all the time, right? So, is that people think just because you turn those lights on that everybody in the roadway has to get out of your way.
Yeah. Yeah, and
you're
then drive.
Asking for the right way, right?
Right. Yeah, and then drive like an idiot.
They've made laws like, it's illegal to not get out of the way of a, responder emergency vehicle. It's also very hard to get out of the way of an emergency vehicle when they're coming up behind you 45 miles an hour
Yeah.
in a busy intersection.
Right. Yeah. Going 30 miles an hour faster than you and overdriving their sirens. And yeah, it's a scary set of statistics. I mean, I reviewed 20 years of firefighter fatalities, reading the narratives of all those to build my data set. And so it changed my perspective on a lot of things. And that's actually, so in December, I'm presenting at the PST instructor conference at Canaan Valley, which is open to anyone, not just instructors, but that's what my talk is going to be on, is on my research and some of my findings and ways to improve, driver safety and become a better instructor if you're teaching EVOC, emergency vehicle operations. It's something I'm passionate about. It wasn't just a school project, but of course it was a year and a half just on the research. So it's something you got to be passionate about.
If you send me the info and stuff, I'll make sure that I try to promote it and stuff. I mean, the best that I can.
Yeah. Looking forward to it for sure.
Are you going to go to the fire conference in
Upshur County?
McKinney. Yeah.
I don't know. I had something going on last year. I wanted to. Is the date set for next year?
It's January. God, Joey will probably punch me. I want to say it's 14th through the 17th of January.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize it was that soon.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I know that I stuck it in my calendar last year because I couldn't make it and I wanted to come this year. So, it seemed like it was real well organized, and Joey's a smart guy, so I'm sure he's heavily involved in it.
Don't be telling him that. We want to be able to walk into the conference. We want to be able to get his head in there.
Yeah, so I'll look into that maybe. I'll try to make it this year.
That's awesome that there's a lot of guys like you that are, trying to get more knowledge out to younger guys like me, because I mean, the fire service is still very in its baby stages, right? It's still, I mean,
in a lot of ways, yeah. I mean, when I started, EVOC was a new course that there was over the course of my career, and I didn't know it at the time, but the National Fire Academy has a bigger vision that has really grown in the last 20 years. You've seen a lot more officer development that didn't exist 20, 25, 30 years ago. You had each individual state sort of had their own curriculum on whatever they wanted to teach, if they wanted to teach it. So now you have more standardized nationwide curriculums on Fire 1, Fire 2, all your rescue disciplines. So it's been a great evolution over my career, and we're headed in the right direction, I think, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like all of that stuff, I feel like the worst thing about the fire service is that we really don't start to implement stuff until somebody's got to die.
Yeah.
Right, for something like that to happen. And I mean, especially like how you talked about, them giving more officer training and stuff like that and stuff, is because you had guys who were really running scenes that had no clue what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then you had a lot of firefighter fatalities as they look back and they're like, these guys shouldn't even been inside of the building.
Right. Yep.
But the guy outside didn't have the knowledge to know that.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's good that we're gathering enough data now to where we can look at those and look at trends and statistics to sort of steer policy and steer where our weaknesses are to improve that and hopefully reduce line of duty deaths. So, yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, and I mean, look at our trucks now, right? I mean, our trucks are 6 times bigger than they've ever been.
Yeah.
I mean, and they keep getting bigger. I mean, we're basically sometimes driving around school buses.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're massive, heavy. The lug nut rule, right? Whoever has the most lug nuts on their vehicle is going to win in a crash. So
yeah, and we're driving faster, right? We have now these trucks every year. It seems like they're coming out with more horsepower, more torque.
Yeah,
and we're driving faster and we're more distracted, right? I mean, before you'd have guys that were, that weren't looking at their phones, who weren't looking at GPSs to find out where they're supposed to be going.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have guys that are distracted, pulling their phones out.
Yeah, that's part of it. And a lot of my research was on the psychological factors of driving, why you're responding to a call. And that led me to realize that there's some distractions, there's some other things, but people get so excited and so urgently wanting to get to the call to help or whatever that they completely disregard any safety of getting there. They forget that they have to get there first. and they don't realize that they're being, inhibited by their psychological state, that excitement.
Listen, I'm very open about it. Second time I ever got to drive, I was just driving one of our pickups.
Mhm.
Responding to vehicle accident on the interstate. Actually, had my sister in the passenger seat. We're responding. The engine got a little bit in front of us just because people are more willing to get out of the way for a big fire truck than a pickup truck coming up.
Mhm.
And we're driving a lot faster than I thought we were. The sirens are going. We're moving. And second new company, for whatever reason, got put on the call. Well, they come up around the bend. All the cars are in the right lane. Now get in the left lane.
Mhm.
Instead of me paying attention, to what's in front of me and saying, oh, I should probably slow down. Well, I then had to swerve into the median, drove up on the little hump, maintained control, and then ran over a road sign at the end. And sliced the tire. And then after that, I was like, oh, that wasn't my fault. That wasn't my fault. The more I sit back and think about it, I'm like, I should never. Now that I've driven a lot, and I've actually been able to sit behind the seat of an engine and drive and stuff, and get a bigger picture. I looked at it and I was like, I was driving way too fast.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I was
good
not
for you.
paying attention for the situation, and I could have killed me, my sister.
Right.
And
if that wasn't a road sign there, right? If it wasn't a road sign, it could have just as well been a pedestrian or a car or anything else. I mean, yeah, you just happened to get lucky.
So my EVOC instructor, it was the weirdest thing, weirdest question anybody's ever asked me. We're sitting there and he goes, how do you fit? I can't remember what he said. He's like, how do you fit 70 people into a fire truck? We're sitting here like, this guy's fucking crazy, right? And he's sitting here like, I'll give you guys 5 minutes to talk, amongst each other. And then, I want you guys to give me the answer. We're like, all right. We're sitting here. We're like, can't fit fucking 70 people. We're like, there's a clown car. You're going to have people stacked in compartments. And he's like, you guys done it? We're like, yeah, we're done. We're like, you can't do it. He's like, yeah, you can. And we're sitting, we're like, no, you can't, old man. And he's like, yeah, you can. We're like, okay. And he's like, well, how many people, are you legally allowed to fit in there? We're like, 5.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. He's like, do they have brothers and sisters? We're like, yeah, probably most of them. They're like mothers and fathers and grandparents and stuff. And we're like, yeah. And they're like in friends and stuff. We're like, yeah. And they're like, okay. When you're driving a truck on the road, how many people do you pass on the way to a call? We're like, I don't know, probably a couple hundred. He's like, okay. He's like, every time you get in that, apparatus and you're driving, you have in your hands everybody that, that's in that truck and everybody they know and everybody that's driving on the road.
Yeah.
He's like, you're responsible for all of those people's lives. He goes, because you're now rolling down the road in an average 40 to 50,000 pound vehicle.
Yep. That's a good way to put it. I like that.
If you would hit them, you would kill them.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going to win.
You're probably unfazed.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's a great analogy. Good way to put it.
Yeah, I was sitting there and I'm like, and you just like you're flabbergasted. I feel like you can't fit 70 people, and it really hit me. And I'm like, wow.
Right. Yeah,
it
makes you respect how much responsibility.
You could really kill, and there's so many people. I just seen where there's a small department in Kentucky where they wrecked the apparatus and the driver and the passenger were fine and the person in the back dead.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Now you just killed everything that person ever was and is gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't take it back. So I don't think people take it. I don't think departments are strict enough about who they let drive. And I know that you guys on the paid side, that you're very strict about that, and that has to.
Yeah, it helps, and that was one of the little kind of side findings that I had with my research was most of the fatalities were on the volunteer side, even though the career side runs most of the calls. So the most of the exposure is happening in the busy departments, running the most calls, getting the most miles on the trucks. Yeah. But the fatalities are happening primarily in the volunteer service.
Do you think that is sometimes maybe? Well, I was going to say because what is it in the U.S.? Is it like 70% of departments in the U.S. are volunteer?
Right.
So do you think it's because we outrank you guys? I mean, because
No, well, that's very perfect question, because that was what you would initially think. But
right, yeah, you would
90
think there's more of us.
Right, fair. But 90% of the population in the country are protected by career staff, because which makes sense too if you have the bigger
Right,
cities.
yeah. Most major cities, you're going to have a paid department.
Right, and most of the calls are being responded to. I mean, which makes sense. If you have a lot of people, you're going to have a lot of calls. If you have a lot of calls, you're not going to be able to staff it with volunteers for the most
just
part.
because you have 13 volunteer departments, they, even among county. I mean, you still have some volunteer departments here that I know there's one that if they hit 100 calls a year, they're doing really good.
Yeah.
And then you have at least 6 or 7 other departments that run between 300 and 350 calls.
Right.
And then you have the city of Morgantown with 3 stations. Those medical calls really come in handy. They're probably running triple the amount of calls.
Yeah, that's a perfect example on a smaller scale. Yeah, that's exactly right.
You have some volunteer departments that are the ones that are, want to be there, right? And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we're already behind.
Yep.
By the time the call's dispatched, right? I think, and this is from Ben too. I think he said 3 to 5 minutes is the average dispatch time of a call.
As far as time of the
caller
is
received,
received,
it's called in from the time that it's actually dispatched, like 3 to 5 minutes.
I think they actually have 90 seconds. Now that might not be the average.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's not very long. And most, I think, dispatchers would agree that if they have the resources, one person is taking the call while it's being dispatched, so they're still gathering information. when they're on the ball. Of course, they have surges where they're not going to meet that, but yeah, it's seconds, not minutes, for sure.
And then by the time that I drive from my house down to the station, it takes
3
me
to 5 minutes
approximately
to get there.
a minute or so to throw my gear on. We get in the truck and start rolling out, and then now
And you have a huge response area. I mean, it's rural,
we're
so
responding 10 minutes.
Right.
15 minutes. So
Yeah.
of course we're trying to make up time, right?
Right. The whole time you're thinking that, that sense of
The whole
urgency.
entire time we're thinking, if we can drive 5 miles an hour faster,
Yeah. Yep.
we're going to
100%.
get there 30 seconds quicker. We're going to
You
get
hit
there
the nail
45
on the head. Yeah.
Right.
You feel like you have an obligation to make that up, and it takes, you got to realize that you don't choose, as a firefighter, you aren't choosing the level of service your community has elected to have.
Right.
I mean, so that's out of your control. You didn't elect or choose where that emergency was going to happen. You didn't decide that the person's going to live, 30 minutes clear at the other end of the county. No emergency services nearby. That's out of your control.
Yep.
And you didn't have anything to do with the things leading up to the fact that they had that emergency. So not writing it off and saying it's not important, but there's a lot of factors there that you will never control. And the fact that you're going to take whatever your response time is, that's set. That's today. It's set. The response time is set for everywhere. That's out of your control. And we have to change our perception of that to where we realize that, we're going to do what we can once we get there. But as far as making up lost time, it's already gone.
Yeah, because you may be able to answer this. You did the research. There's actually science behind, well, not science, but you know what I mean, like research done behind what the response time with lights and without lights, right? Like it's not actually that crazy, right?
No, it's hardly any difference. And that's where the trend is going now with most departments, and we do it too. Of not running lights and sirens, because on certain types of calls that aren't considered a true emergency.
Right. So at our department, if you call a tree down, we're not running lights, right?
Right.
If you call a lift assist, right? We're responding to assist EMF, right? So if it takes us an extra 2 minutes to get there, it takes us an extra 2 minutes. And the way that we look at that is that if I kill you in an accident, you're an innocent bystander, and we go to court.
Yeah.
How do you
justify
have to justify that I killed you?
Right.
Going to cut a tree down.
Yeah, lawyer's going to say, okay, do you think that a true emergency exists? And you'll say, well, yeah, of course, because we were dispatched, and that's all we go on. It's like, so you think that tree, maybe blocking the roadway, put somebody's life in imminent danger of dying, in the next minute or so. Say, okay, that's kind of hard to justify. Yeah, they'd eat you alive. And that's why a lot of them don't even go to court, because the insurance companies settle, because they know that it's they're going to lose, and then they pass that expense back onto the departments. So
yeah, so we try to mitigate that, right, by not doing that. But it's insane. I've seen, and I've gotten into this situation too, where I am very against like POV firefighters having red lights in their vehicles.
mm-hmm.
I'm sure you have seen the math behind that a lot, because I see a bunch of line of duty deaths all the time, even on the Facebook page that I follow. Is you have people responding to the station and wrecking and killing themselves.
Yep. With and without lights, but responding to the station. And that was actually where the majority of the fatalities was during that response in their personal vehicle. Mm-hmm. And, at that point, it's just theorizing why that might be. But I think you're spot on. You feel a sense of urgency because you're already, it's like, oh, I live 5 minutes from the station, so it's going to take me 5 minutes to get there. I better hurry because there might be a couple guys ahead of me that are closer that are going to beat me there, and I want to make the truck.
Got to be first truck out, right?
Yeah, that competitive nature. There's, oftentimes nobody else in the vehicle with you to say, hey, slow the hell down. You're scaring me.
My wife has yelled at me. I'm not going to lie. Like, we've been responding to a vehicle accident, and it's actually a motorcycle accident. And, I was maybe driving a little bit faster than I maybe should have. And she's like, hey, slow down.
Yeah, good for her.
And I'm like, I'm not driving that fast. And she's like, yes, you are.
Right.
And I've not been out here 20 years, but I've been doing it for a little while. And even though I know, and I've stopped myself before, like, hey, you're driving a little fast.
Yeah.
But even in that situation, I couldn't recognize it. So she was like, hey, listen, I know we got to get there, but you got to slow down.
Yeah. Oh, good for her. And you for realizing it too. I mean, sometimes you need that.
I was like, listen, slow down.
Right.
And like you said, there's nobody in the vehicle for, to be able to say, hey, listen, you're in danger.
Right.
And I think it's the biggest, and I still every once in a while get it. You get that huge adrenaline rush.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, man, we're getting ready to go on a good wreck or a good fire or whatever.
Yeah, it's fires, structure fires mainly, or anything with the word entrapment. That's what it is.
Like the two biggest things, right?
Yep. Those are keywords that send you through the roof and make you drive like an idiot.
I used to actually get debates with guys, and I'd be like, I don't think you guys should have red lights. And they'd be like, yes, we should. Like, explain to me.
Yeah.
And my biggest, they'd be like, well, we're further away from the station than you. And my biggest response used to be to that was volunteer where you live.
Yeah,
right.
Take the second truck then.
Or you have a department that's right up the street from you that you don't volunteer at, but you'll run code 10 minutes across town to volunteer at our department.
Yeah,
and that happens all the time.
Yeah, well,
I think that at one time the state fire marshal's office was actually not issuing red light permits, and I thought maybe the reason for that was that if they issue it, then eventually that could come back on them. If somebody would wreck and kill somebody because they were, they issued the permit.
Nah, it's going to be the knucklehead behind the wheel, 100%. I mean, that's
I think
especially
we're eventually going to get away from you responding in your own vehicle. There's just too much liability.
A lot of liability there.
Well, and it's on the liability of the department too, right? Because from my understanding, is your workers' comp starts from the time that you receive the text message.
Yeah, if you're responding, if you can prove that, but your personal vehicle insurance, and I'm not sure, I've been out of the volunteer game for a while, but I mean that might be a question that they'd want to know.
How many guys are actually reporting to their insurance company? Because a lot of them be like, that's a no from us.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot of risk.
The vehicle that we're insuring.
That's a lot of risk they're assuming. For that. So.
Yeah, it definitely is. But like I said, man, what you guys are doing is awesome, and I know you're going to go teach that class, and I think that it's good that you have guys like you guys that are trying to give us knowledge that I don't have the time to do myself, or maybe not even the knowledge to be able to recognize some of those stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of us out here really appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. I like it. I like it a lot. I like passing on lessons I've learned the hard way, so hopefully somebody else doesn't have to, for sure.
That's kind of the way that we learn most of our stuff, right? If somebody else has got to make a mistake for us to realize that, like, hey, the way we're doing it is not working.
Yeah.
But all right, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. And,
Sure. I'm glad it finally worked out.
Yeah, listen, man. It's a juggle sometimes trying to because then like there's been times where I went like 2-3 weeks without having anybody, and people are like, "Why aren't you having a podcast?" I'm like, dude, it's hard, right? It's hard for me because I have he's about to be 7-month-old baby, and I work a full-time job, and then people's schedule has to match up with mine to be able to do it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's really hard. It's not like I'm getting paid to do this, right? I do this for my own, for fun, and for other people to kind of like. I actually started this to kind of try to like. Hopefully, nothing ever happens to you, Dusty. But like, we'll just say somebody that really is not familiar with you, and you would pass away, and they'd be like, "Man, what did this guy Dusty used to do?"
Yeah, you got a legacy somewhat.
Kind of like a legacy kind of thing, because
it's
I
living
used to
history.
go to the station all the time. And guys talk about like, yeah, man, we used to have this guy here that used to run with us, and I'd be like, oh, what's his name? They'd tell me, and I'm like, well, what else? And they're like, well, that's, I don't really know a lot about him.
Yeah, I do that with
they don't
retirees
remember
too.
The guy's been dead for 20 years.
Right. Yeah, I do that with retirees. I mean, just love listening to their stories, but love to just keep record of it. So,
right.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's great.
I started this to begin with.
Yeah,
because I didn't really see that anybody else is doing it.
Right. Yeah, that's a perfect purpose. So I like it.
All right, well, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. And thanks everybody for watching. I hope everybody has a good night.
Yep. Thanks for having me on. Have a good night.
Thanks, man.
We'll see you.
See ya.